We are live. Good evening. Good evening, beloved family. Good evening, dear ones out there, wherever you're at, in whichever side of the world. We greet you from the heart with my beautiful guest, Dr. Sonali Gupta. It's going to be a very, very exciting episode of Earn Oneness tonight. And I have a lot to share from my own contemplation since I've invited her over to share space with me. And before we get her on board, I would love to share with you the video promo so you will feel and you'll tune in. And this notification is just Era Light Nerika Healing already live. So we got the notification we are live on Facebook, we are live on YouTube, so you can share with us these moments of realizing our magnificent human experience, our magnificence, and the light we share with this world. Before, actually, the words are really coming so strongly at this moment. As I am in this space, in this beautiful library at Dr. Gupta's place here in Katrayan. I love what the universe brings my way. It's always an ever-going adventure. I just come to spend some time with friends and I meet this beautiful, lovely lady. And then we connect a lot in common, and at the invite, and she's immediately accepted. I love how the universe plays its own magic with us. So I'll tell you a brief about me. As I was growing up, I always dreamt of the Egyptian pyramid, and I developed this interest in archaeology, and I've always wanted. And going into life, and the family never kind of supported. Also, at some point, I felt this is a crushed dream of mine, and I stayed with that notion in my heart about something that didn't work out, something that I've desired. And again, life moves on. But just yesterday, 2 days ago, when I met Dr. Sonali and I knew that she's an archaeologist, immediately what came to my mind, my dream has never been crushed. If it got accomplished by another beautiful soul on this planet, it's never a dream, it's a reality, and it's a realization. Because when we realize how we are so interconnected and we are in oneness, we are in alignment with this universal plan, what she had accomplished is my accomplishment. And I do feel so much happy now that that desire of mine is been fulfilled. Like a lot of the what happened around every day, we are receiving fractal of this divine interplay, and we are all playing in our own role. Before I invite Dr. Gupta into the conversation, we would love to share with you the intro video that always tune in into the oneness. And you dawn upon me, upon you. And you dawn upon me, upon you. Our beloved Gaia, our Mother Earth, is sending, and so are we. Brother Sun, Sister Moon, hold my hand, and together we lead our multidimensionality, we realize, and we rejoice. We are sovereign whole again, and you dawn upon me, upon you. In oneness, you and I, we gather. Brother Sun, Sister Moon, in the circle of light, meet with me to remember ourselves, one heart, one family, one light, one humanity, one earth. In oneness, we remember I am all is I. In oneness, the God in me honor the God in you. In oneness, we expand beyond the multiverse. Our star cells we meet, and we remember the origin, the light, the source. In oneness, once more, with ourselves and the bridge we crossed. In oneness, we become the remembrance, we become the Akash. We just be in oneness. In oneness, we remember. In oneness, we become. And we be in this existence. Welcome, Dr. Sonali Gupta.
Thank you so much, Era. And it's been lovely. Even though we've met for 2 days, it's been so nice spending time with you. And of course, your lovely little pups.
The pups are taking all the attention.
Yeah.
But we always exist beyond that moment of interconnection, of that moment of meeting, because we have already met.
Right.
So when I titled the episode for today, I have written our magnificent human experience through the lens of an archaeologist. As we are realizing it had already been existing throughout this, existence of humanity. I would like you, Dr. Gupta, to tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your background, and then we step into the juicy part of this magnificent human experience.
Okay, thank you so much for having me on your channel. What you do, spreading light and illuminating the world, is what I think good people strive to do. You do it through, healing and getting one with, the higher powers. I do it through knowledge and dissemination of what I've learned as an archaeologist. Well, the journey didn't start that way. I was a lawyer. I practiced law for about 6 years. A few years in India and a few years in the US. I was a criminal lawyer. And that whole world of the plaintiff, the defendant, the criminal, it kind of put me off. Why? Because my spirit was not in it. I was sincere towards law, but I was not passionate about it. And I feel passion is what defines the human experience. Because if you're passionate about something, then what you do doesn't feel like work anymore. So I decided to go on to becoming an archaeologist.
And why Egypt?
Why Egypt? It happened. It's like destiny. I did not think that I would ever be an Egyptian archaeologist, but it's like your destiny draws you to it. I always loved archaeology. I had a master's in history, and off and on when I was a lawyer, I used to go for digs. But when I went to the States, it so happened one fine night, I had a dream. And I got up in the morning and I knew I had to do archaeology. And I applied to the University of California, Los Angeles. It was just one university I applied to. I wrote my statement of purpose. And I still remember very clearly that in my statement of purpose, I wrote what Paulo Coelho in his book, The Alchemist, writes, that if you really want something with a pure heart, the whole universe conspires to get it for you. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I wrote that and I knew I was ready. I knew this was it. And I applied. And it's a very competitive grad school. And I had 3 weeks to prepare for my GRE, for my TOEFL. And I did that. And it was tough. But I got through and I was elated. And I had the most wonderful professor. She's a professor of Egyptian archaeology. She's Dutch, Dr. Willeke Wendrick. And I was her student. And that very year, I landed in Cairo for the first time in my life. And in the middle of the night, I was in the tent, which had a lantern. And I opened my diary and I said, oh my God, this is Egypt. I am on my way to becoming an archaeologist. And that feeling was, and I cannot describe that feeling of being there and knowing that I'm going to be discovering the past on my own and being an archaeologist.
That's wonderful. Actually, it's just I'm having chills. I'm like, my soul is rejoicing because we have all have experience, we have had experience being in Egypt in a lifetime or the other. So you landed in Egypt and you realized, I'm home.
Yeah.
Did it happen to you?
Yes, it was like that. I just felt very comfortable. And over the years, every year we would go for 4 to 5 months and stay there in the desert. We were in a place called Fayoum, which is famous for Greco-Roman, the Greco-Roman period. The Fayoum portraits are very famous, and the Fayoum Neolithic is very famous. And if you just walk there, you will, in the graveyard, you'll find the cemetery, the Greco-Roman cemetery. You'll find a skull here, a foot there, linen, all those things, and a lot of beautiful structures in ode to Sobek, the crocodile god. And I started working there, and I traveled all over Egypt, picked up Arabic, and that's why I'm meeting you.
Yes.
I was so happy because finally I said, there's somebody I can practice the Arabic with.
MashaAllah, تحكي عربي very well.
Yeah. ما فيش على طول لكن شوية شوية أنا أعرفه.
And I love the accent you picked up, like the Egyptian dialect, which is so nice.
Yeah.
This sounds like I am home. It's exactly what I've experienced when I came to India back in 2010. I was roaming the streets of the Pink City in Jaipur, and I remember I knelt on my knees and I was to the ground and was crying. I'm finally home. I'm finally home. And then here the journey takes me back since 2010 till 2016 is when I made my journey back to India, and I've settled here. Would you feel yourself settling in Egypt at any time?
Egypt was and is still home to me. So when I think of home, I do not think of Los Angeles. I do not think of New Delhi. I think of my tent in the Egyptian Sahara, and I think of my home here. So I feel that I'm made up of bits and pieces that belong everywhere. But I feel very, very close to, of course, Egypt and the Himalayas.
And the Himalaya, we are coming to, and we're trying to bridge this gap between Egypt and the Himalaya. And there must be something in common for you.
Yeah, I think so. Egypt, I feel I gained wisdom, I gained what I have today. My PhD is in Egyptian archaeology. So Egypt made me ready for the Himalayas, is what I'll say. So Egypt is a very integral part of my life. Everything about Egypt, Egyptian religion, ancient Egyptian religion, the people of Egypt, the history of Egypt, it's like home to me. But I feel that I kind of grew up there as an individual. I evolved as a human being, and I was ready to come here. And here, I first came to the Himalayas back in 1986. I was an 11-year-old girl back then. And when I came here, I had the knowing that I will keep coming here and there's something that I need to do. What that something is, I do not know. But I had to take a very long route, as you may say, to go all the way to Egypt and then come back here. This is what my learning was, to go to Egypt and do Himalayan archaeology. And here too, one fine day at night, I was sitting and looking at the mountain that you see
it's
in front of me.
by the way.
And I had tears rolling down, and I said, this is what it has to be. I have to do archaeology here. And I wrote a project in the plane and I submitted it, and I got the project got approved. And it's like the whole universe got together, and I got this place, from the owner. I'm renting it, and started the Institute of Cultural and Heritage Studies.
The Institute of Cultural Studies, and it's all about bringing to light the magnificent human experience in so many aspects of it, whether in the Himalaya or in the Egypt. And it carries the essence of Dr. Gupta, as she is so passionate about the experience of self. You just said a line that always I refer to. I have the knowing. Where do you think that knowing comes from?
It comes from within. It's instinct. You just know it. It's like nobody can tell you. You just know that this is it. This is where I want to be. Wherever you go in the world, you will always come back to where you know you belong. And belongingness doesn't come from having taken birth there, of identifying with people there. It's just that you are from there.
So it's like a soul recognition of a frequency of a place. It aligns with you. It just makes you rooted, makes you comfortable.
Yes, it does. It also makes you uncomfortable. There are also problems that come with it. I have faced my share of problems. 2020 was a very bad year for everyone, but for me, it was particularly bad because I met the most horrible people who would, and I take everything as a test, like if people kind of shake me from my path, it is like a lesson for me that, what, come what may, uh, my soul's resolution, my resolve is being here and doing something that is purposeful in life.
Mm.
And I think each one of us should strive to be that way, like live a life of purpose.
Exactly. And the people whom gonna be attracted to your purpose or to your light or to your tribe are the ones they gonna, as you said, they're gonna shake you from the within, because uh, the triggers are the way to healing. The triggers are the way to realize more. We might see the experience as kind of a bad or troubling at that moment, but just give it a little time. You're gonna
Yeah.
be so grateful to those.
Yeah, and I actually want to read out a poem that I wrote when I was going through this, if you allow
Of
me.
course, this is what this beautiful space is
Yeah.
about to share our magnificence
Yeah.
through every way possible. Not only she's an archaeologist and anthropologist, she's an artist as well. She's since the morning we've been sneaking a look at what she's been painting and then coloring, and I joined them on a coloring project a couple of days ago. It's an incredible thing that it's happening in this little container that Dr. Gupta is creating with her student, with her colleagues. And we're going to talk more about the Himalayan Institute and all the project that they're working with, and how it is revealing some of the aspects of the human experience and how they are related to her. I'd love to hear the poem.
So this was last year, last year, December, end of December 2019. And I still remember, there's this very powerful goddess here in the valley. Her name is Tripura Sundari, the goddess of the three realms. And she's she's associated with, Tantric Buddhism, with Hinduism. And I feel very like, she has that magnetism. When you go there, you just look at it and you feel energized. There is a vibration there. And all these sacred spaces, they're such old spaces, archaeologically very significant, but they also have that that sacredness, that vibe, that people have been coming here for millennia and been bowing down with their energies. And every place is about energy. Like, you have your energy, I have my energy, places have their energy as well.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
So this is what I wrote. So if all of you, would like to listen to it, I'll go ahead. So it says, "Back to where I belong, with bare feet and folded hands, the gust of cold December blows. Numbness surrounds your presence shows. And I'm here now to take solemn vows. In the dark of the night, no one here in sight. I slip and fall on the icy sheet. I'm hurt, but I do not weep. A soul communion with my goddess, a tear drops down my watery eye, my heart and soul together cry. I slide my hands halfway and quiver, the freezing temperatures abound, I shiver. I circumambulate and race, your gaze my only solace. Faith and hope, you say, I hear, will keep my strength and all that's dear. The fear of the unknown, the presence of the absence, a renewed vigor, a restless figure. I trust what you say to me without a word, non verbally. I'll tread this path of uncertainty, because what is mine will come my way, and which is not will dissipate. And so I trust my instinct and will keep at it till I'm in. Bloom like the lotus in the proverbial mud like world, striving to make it till I learn. And when I wrote this, I felt a sense of release. And right after that, because what is mine will come my way, which is not will dissipate. That's exactly what happened with me. People who were aligned with me came my way, and who were not meant to be with me just vanished.
Exactly.
And they went in a very turbulent form. It was a very painful experience for me. I went through emotions of anger, betrayal. I felt cheated. There were so many things that I went through. But in the end, I knew that happened for a greater good. And the greater good was aligning myself to my purpose in life. And I feel that was a lesson learned. And your greatest teachers are your enemies, is what I feel. Your enemies teach you the most about what you need to learn in life.
It just, you have to be ready to see and realize and learn and become and embody these learnings. This is what I call it, a magnificent human experience. It comes with all emotions and all turbulence and all happiness and all joy and all the spectrum of experiences, and to just acknowledge the good and the happy moment, and dwell and whine and chine about the experiences that were painful. It's not going to bring that magnificence out to light, to be embodied. As it is a spectrum, so is our soul. It's just, running or flowing between the spectrum. So all is welcome. When I realized my human existence, my magnificent human experience, it's what brought me to meet that person, or that person to go to Egypt, to be in the Himalayas, to be doing what I'm doing, to align. You keep saying this line that it just brings joy in me, to align to my purpose. And interestingly, just in this afternoon, I was checking my phone, and there was a reminder from Facebook from 2 years ago. And I was just talking about to align to my soul purpose. And this is a small line I've written 2 years back. It says, I simply realized I am the endless blessings, and happiness comes from choices. Choose now to align with your soul purpose and be happy.
Exactly.
I love how you said it's just the matter of leaving it to this universe and trusting this whole process, and whatever in my highest good, may it come my way.
Yeah. And another thing that I was reading recently, and this is very pertinent because I read a lot of sacred texts because of my work. And there was this thing where, if you are acquainted with the Mahabharata, and when the Pandav brothers, the five brothers
Exactly.
who were in conflict with their 100 brothers who were supposedly evil. I feel people are never evil, situations make them so. So when the brothers lost their kingdom over a game of dice, um, uh, the brothers, the rest of the brothers, they got very angry with the eldest brother, that what have you done? You have given the kingdom away, we've lost everything, now we have to go into exile. So Krishna comes along, Lord Krishna, and they're kind of complaining about what their brothers did. They said, we are left penniless. So Krishna says, well, it is your duty that now that you've lost and you have promised your 100 brothers, cousins, that you will go in exile, you have to do so. Your brother took that charge and he's accountable for all of you. So you have to follow suit. So the wife of the five brothers, Draupadi, she was kind of basically molested, by in public. She was kind of put on the roll of dice as well to be given away. And she felt very betrayed and shamed that her husbands, so the five husbands, could do that, right? So Krishna says, and this is very important to whenever we talk about going through pain, going through sorrows from people who are bad. So Krishna says, yes, what they did was wrong. First of all, your husband should not have put you on the roll of dice as a game. Secondly, the cousins should not have played that game where they were insulting you. But thirdly, you also made that choice of marrying husbands like that. You could have married somebody else. But it is the choice that you make, and that's your karma, right? So it's the choices. So if you have come to a position where you shouldn't have been treated that way, is that maybe you made a decision, you made a choice which put you in that spot. Maybe you were not discerning enough. Maybe your senses were not open enough to understand what is good and what is bad. And that's why you're suffering. So when we go through pain, when we go through all of that, it is a choice that we made, that we say, oh, we didn't deserve this, but we made that choice.
And we blame it on karma.
We blame it
and
on
we
karma.
blame it on God.
Yeah.
And we just go into the blaming game.
Yeah.
It's just you and your choices. If you just go with those choices aligned to your divinity, to your soul purpose, to your knowing.
Mm-hmm.
It never goes astray. It always takes you to the right path. It always takes you into the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that even in the midst of the pain and the chaos, just realizing that it is an experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course, bringing back to chaos, when we talk about ancient Egypt, it's all about that balance between order and chaos, between Isfat and Ma'at.
Yes.
Isfat is chaos and Ma'at is balance.
The balance.
Yeah.
The goddess of balance.
Yeah, and pharaohs, they have been trying to, just balance the chaos. It's about the desert and the fertile land. It's about binaries. It's about hell and heaven. We all go through that.
Isn't that the duality that we have been living?
Yes, exactly. That's that. And the ancients, they knew it very well. If you look at their religion, Egyptian religion, if you look at the Mahabharata, you look at the Ramayana, they're espousing subtle truths that we need to know to evolve ourselves into better human beings. That's why we are here, to become better people. And I shudder to think, when I see people just wasting their lives, in their rigmarole of, 9 to 5 job and paying bills. Is life only about paying bills every month? Isn't it more than that? Isn't life, more than, what you're doing in cities? Yes, it's important to get those degrees, to work, to earn, to help the economy, but there's something about life more than that, beyond that. And you have to kind of go beyond the material to understand it.
And this is, are you finding that in sacred scriptures and the diggings and the studies and the knowledge that you're acquiring, whether here in the Himalayas or in Egypt?
Ira, when you say about, in my studies, see, I study material culture, right? Materiality. And I think the true meaning of what material culture means to me, like I always been digging and I find the human experience everywhere. A mother writing to a son in her letters, in Egypt, that come home, I'm waiting for you, you don't write anymore. The same kind of wiring of the human brain, pain, anger, going to oracles.
Anticipation also.
Yeah. But I feel that, I truly understood what material culture was to me when my father died, right? So when my father died, he had a wallet. Okay. When he died in my arms about 3 years ago, I was very attached to him. He was a diplomat in the foreign services. He traveled the world. He was the most gentle and intellectual person in my life. So when I opened his wallet, there was just a 50 rupee note, and which is almost less than $1. He just kept it there, and he had my name on a slip of paper. He had dementia at the very end, so he used to remind himself, my son's name. And I just looked at it. I said, my father's gone, his wallet still remains, the books still remain. When I did his last rites, his ashes, everything that was him, I had to let go. So initially, I was very attached. I was so attached, it was giving me pain. But now I realize that now I have to be detached, attached in a detached
manner. Exactly.
In a detached manner. And everything material that's reminding me of him, from my from the rituals that are ordained by, the Hindu kind of path of life, of death, everything was about letting go. I truly understood the meaning of people coming together at a death, sitting together, uh, you know donating his clothes away, donating everything that reminded me of him, his body, his ashes, everything. I had to let go. And materiality, studying material culture, this was a big lesson for me. That, and this is written in the Gita also, that don't be attached, because this body is also not yours. So when you've taken birth, do something purposeful, not only for yourself but for people around. Spread happiness.
And I guess you've seen it in all your diggings. All what remains is the bones, or the remains, or a little bit of fabric, as you said, linen fabric, leather, or what remains is the materialistic aspect.
Yeah, and what I remember, for example, about my father is not what the things that he left behind, or the property that he left
Exactly.
behind, but the relationship that he left behind, the deep bonds that he left behind. When people remember him with love, that is what is most important.
Exactly.
And that's what the ancient Egyptians say: never forget the name. Always remember the name of the dead. Because if you forget the name of the dead, they don't remain anymore. They're gone from the universe.
Mm.
So for me, that is a big lesson to learn. That be yourself, be good, do good. Don't be evil. Don't be mean to people. Be compassionate. Being compassionate is very important to me. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Being compassionate toward oneself and toward all of creation. It's just a matter of starting with yourself.
Exactly.
That compassion has to sprout from the within to your own being, and then it can spread.
Exactly.
It can spread to all beings around you, your family, your even your plants, your pets, or whoever's around you in your circle, because what remained of him, that memory, and that memory carries its own energy.
Right.
So even when you go for your digging, whatever you find, you might paste together the story, which carries its own energetic impression, its own energetic association. So we go back to that big realization: we are all vibrating at some frequency, and if that frequency is matching, whether we are digging in the Himalaya, even when you go for your digging and defining, it is a vibrational match to your state of existence, to your state of mind, to your own vibration. That's why it had come to you. That's why you have found it, because also it has a learning to give you and to just add to your experience.
Right.
Wonderful. We're getting a lot of comments on the Facebook. Actually, we have a recommendation of someone. Our Shivoham is asking to read your poem again, as he is a poet himself. So he's kind of resonates so much. We will read it toward the end of the session, definitely, Shivoham. Detached attachment and inaction in action. Relations are the storehouse of the latent emotion energy, never be destroyed.
Yeah, and I truly believe that when we think about, a lot of times people look at spirituality as something, oh God, this is like out of this world and out of the realm, right?
Or when I become older, I will think about it.
I will think about
I'm not
it.
ready for it right now.
Yeah,
I get this a lot.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you look at it in a very scientific sense also, matter can neither be created nor destroyed. The law of physics says so, but it can be converted from one form to another.
Yes.
When we switch the light on, there is power, there's energy in you. When you look at the oracles here, the spokesperson of the gods, so as to say, the oracles, they have energy in them. If they say, oh, this is all false, how can they just move and talk in a different tone? Just observe. There is, just look at it not as something supernatural, look at it as energy. It's a form of energy,
and look at it without judgment.
And when people die, they're just at a different frequency that you cannot understand them. I'm not going to talk about whether I believe in the existence of soul or not. I'm an archaeologist, that's scientific, but I do believe in energies, and I feel it's all there. Everything has energy. This phone has energy and vibration.
Intellectual,
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence. Everything has its own consciousness, its own existence. And as you said, we may not be able to see or but we could feel. Sometimes the energies are around or the presences are around, and we just cannot see them because we're not of the same vibrational frequency as them, but they do exist. We can't deny their existence if we cannot see them.
Once, like, if you enter the room, sometimes you feel very elated meeting a person, and sometimes you feel very drained out and you don't feel comfortable. It's all about energies, it's all about vibrations. Everybody has an aura, everything. And when people say, oh, these things are, they're weird, they're this, they're that, I just like, people are just being judgmental. They don't feel, they don't experience the human experience.
to the fullest, exactly.
To the
So in
fullest.
my line of work lately, since I've started with Nerika healing, and Nerika is a shamanic word from South America, and it means the heart opening, the portal of the heart that connects you to all of creation. So when I started with this healing work, it's been around 5 years. I've met a lot of those people who will just kind of shove it in my face directly. What is it that you're talking about? What is that all the gesture that you make? What is it? What does it mean? I used to feel so offended at the beginning and kind of, why don't you get it, people? Why can't you get it? Even the closest family members, the close people to me. And when I realized they have their own process to go through.
Exactly.
And in my energy is going to attract my tribe, the people who resonate with me. So I don't have to explain myself. I can just be as free as I am, and they can be who they are. And there's this match. The vibration is matching, and the frequency is it says all. So again, when people come with their judgmental mind, okay, we'll be compassionate toward them.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I feel that people are so violent in this world. Educated people, they're abusive, they're violent, and when I see that myself, I always say that with education does not mean getting a degree. Like if I have a PhD, I won't call myself educated till the time I act with grace and dignity at time of crisis. That I don't act violently, I act with non-violence and restraint. And when I see people acting that way around, I'm just surprised that, especially in India, little things like people kicking dogs, right? That's such a violent act. How can one do something like that?
Because they haven't realized the soul within that being. Yes. Once you reach a point of realizing there is a soul to every existence, and that soul, as well as mine, we have come from the same source. Then you are at ease with everything around you.
Because there's no compassion. People lack compassion. They don't put themselves in somebody else's shoes and to feel what they feel. There's lack of empathy. So if people ask me, oh, what do you want? I have a 7-year-old son. So when people ask me, oh, what do you want your son to be? I said, you know what? I just want my son to be compassionate. That is the most important thing for me. If he's compassionate and kind, everything else will follow.
You have to be that. You don't have to tell him. You just have to show him.
Yeah.
It's all by being who you are and acting from the space of authenticity within you, like your soul's integrity. Exactly. And this is what your son is going to pick up.
Yeah. And though he's a very naughty 7-year-old, but but when he plays with Bella and Leo with so much of love, and he cries when they go away, it makes me feel that as much as he's naughty, he's on the right track.
He thought he was his mom.
Yeah.
He's surrounded by all the love and the compassion that he can get. Our beautiful viewers on Facebook, if you have questions to Dr. Gupta, please type them down and I'll pass them on to her. Our conversation is going on so beautifully, and I'm really, really, I love working from home. I love being in my own space, and I've been doing all these episodes via Zoom, and today it's a greatest of all, because we are in the space together, sharing smile and sharing this energy and feeling into each other's presence, and it's the greatest gift for me and you. So let's talk a little bit about the Himalayan Institute and what is that it offers, and how we can connect you. And as a personally, I am on with those field trips of all the shamanic practices in the region. I found my teacher finally.
Academic teacher.
And also field trips. That's something I love. So how did the institute started, and what's all behind it, and how it is coming into your soul purpose, how it is aligned to your soul purpose?
So for me, my whole study has been on cultural transmission. So how culture, skills, and oral stories, and how do they get transmitted from generation to generation, and how do they play out in daily life, and how can you use that information in understanding the past. So I call myself an anthropological archaeologist. I excavate, but before excavating, I do a lot of digging the truth, not literally, but in understanding people's histories, narratives that float around, which are not documented. So I started this institute as a way and a crossroad where the academic meets the non-academic.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that when we do research, it gets confined only to universities, to research papers with academic jargon. But people don't really come to know about their own culture, about their own heritage from those deeper quarters. They're just in the libraries and for people who go pursuing higher education. And I feel, why let them be? Why not let those people who wanted to be an archaeologist or an art historian or a geologist, but they let it go for the pursuit of happiness in getting that degree, like engineering, law, being a doctor, to serve their purpose because that was the best thing to do. There's a lot of peer pressure, but somewhere they lost the musician, the Indiana Jones, the Laura Croft, and maybe they want to come back to it. So I've created a space where people can join. They can come for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, do courses with us, get a certificate, and live a part of what they lost. Try to get it back. They don't need to go to university to get that degree. They can come and have a nice experience, a nice holiday. So I work with, by the cottages, people can come stay here and I teach, and they can get that human experience out of doing a course on art history, on pottery, on textiles, on healing. So I'm open to collaborating with people like you and wonderful people like you and people who are really interested in going into things deeper with things that matter, things that matter for us: social sciences, humanities, the mysticism,
shamanism,
all of that.
And maybe we have all of it here in the Himalayas. Like, I feel it's the land of the gods, and there are a lot to learn and experience full hand. And the practices, the art is there, the culture is there, and the mysticism is there, and the shamanism is there. So you're putting it together all in some in one whole package, and it's very interesting that people can go back into that passion even after they thought they have lost it, or they just went into life. So this is fascinating.
And I bring the academic side because, of course, I am a researcher. I've been a professor at a university, so I kind of focus on the academic side of the studies that have gone into it. But bringing that and the other side together,
yes,
which is very important. So that's what I've been doing.
Like some kind of unorthodox methods, ways to life, to understanding our surroundings. Like, I've been here in the Himalayas for 4 years, and I've been just a witness to everything around me. I have a language gap with the people around, and sometimes I feel so intrigued with what's happening in the temple just adjacent to my house. I just sit from a standpoint and I just watch and observe, and of course I do feel the energies and connect with the energy of the place, but I'm intrigued with the practice itself, because I truly connect with the subtlety of the practices. And it always comes to me like there's so much happening around us that we can't ignore anymore.
Yeah. And like how you connect with it from that kind of that standpoint, I feel that energy. I connected from the theoretical point of view, which is under the academic discipline of understanding these things theoretically, and the methodology in understanding them, and kind of playing it out and bringing it together. So, but that part is incomplete without that other part.
Exactly.
So for me, like, when we talk about archaeology, people go and excavate, but those people are not there. So how do you get to those people? You meet people in the present to understand their histories. You understand with, the past from their stories, and you add on to that, because that's what makes it holistic. So the whole idea is to make a discipline holistic in its truest sense from every angle, not just the angle of academics, but also the angle of spirituality, of mysticism,
Yeah,
because,
because
yeah.
spirituality and mysticism are so interconnected with our daily life. It's just we lost this touch, we lost the contact with the spirit realm, which is our spirit. But now as we are awakening, we are becoming, wow,
Yeah.
aha moments for all of us. We are
Yeah.
just, the veil is dropped. We're like, the heart is opening. We are able to see beyond the five senses. You can still see a lot of people who are still on the materialistic path, which is still welcome. They have chosen that. No judgment. They can go on as long as they want. But just be assured that whoever's in your energy, they're gonna come to you. Whatever's in your highest good is gonna come your way.
Exactly. Yeah,
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 and the
yeah.
collaboration, it's always welcome.
Yeah. So we do have like right now, because of the pandemic, we're doing virtual workshops. So we did one on Hindu and Buddhist iconography in the Western Himalayas, on Egyptian religion. I did one on that. And then on architecture, sacred architecture of the Himalayas. Then we're doing an art workshop. So a lot of, things that are academic and also on the other side of things. And
Creative.
creative,
Yeah.
yeah. So if somebody wants to, we started the first kiln here, pottery kiln here. So I do pottery a lot, because that was a part of my PhD studies, where I was working on ceramics of the Greco-Roman period. So I used to make replicas and stuff like that. So I want to do that here. Textiles and what have you, theater, music, art. I joined up with this non-governmental organization called Sanskriti, and I have a library for kids. So I want to sensitize students, kids in the village, so they start developing the habit of reading and getting sensitized to their culture. So once the pandemic situation gets better, I will have those kids come once or twice a week, and I'll have storytelling sessions here and art, just free of cost to them, so that they can learn about their heritage and culture and help in preserving it all for posterity, because it might just all go away if we don't do that.
Exactly. Yeah, we gotta start with them, like with the kids, and get them on the track at this very early age, so that they carry on. A question that's coming to me: have you found any connection between Egypt and India, like the spirituality of Egypt and India? Any even archaeological finds in India that has to do with Egypt, like any connection somehow?
See, long back, Joseph Wenger, an Egyptologist, he talked about connections in terms of the way Egyptian religion and Indian religion, they're both polytheistic, ancient Egyptian religion. The only difference has been that Egyptian religion, there was a break, with the coming of the Persians and the Greeks and the Romans and Islam, while in India, it's a continuous kind of religion. So if you could just imagine, okay, that you just replace India with Egypt and say, okay, there was a god who had an elephant head and he was worshipped, and you're like, oh my god, that's so bizarre, right? Who worships an elephant headed god? Or you talk about Anubis or Hathor for that matter. But here we understand it because Ganesha lives on, in the Hindu tradition. So we don't find it appalling, because we worship him every day. When we go to the temple, he's right there. He wrote the Mahabharata, Vyas kind of dictated it. So Ganesha occupies every aspect of the Hindu way of life. But in the Egyptian sense, there was a break, so we find it bizarre. So there are similarities, but unless we have archaeological evidence to prove connections, they're not. But one thing is there, that humans are wired very similarly. Uh, the lapis lazuli was going from Afghanistan to Egypt. Okay, you have trade happening in the Greek and the Roman period with India. Whether we had it during the Pharaonic period, we do not know. There's no major evidence. I have a friend, Amr Khalaf, who is a PhD student. He's almost done, and he might be touching upon those aspects. There's still a lot to be done to say that there are connections, but I feel that maybe the ancients did. If India had connections with Mesopotamia,
exactly,
Egypt is not too far.
Because I received once a documentary from a friend tapping on this subject about some temples in India that carry the carvings, they're very, very similar to the ones in Egypt temples. And the way the temples are shaped and the way they are designed. So they were like striking a lot of similarities, as if it is a continuum. It's a one big civilization across the earth.
I wouldn't say that, because as an archaeologist, I go according to the evidence that we see, and you would say, oh, those similarities, with the Mayan temples as well. I'm saying that humans are wired similarly, so you will find a lot of similarities, but you cannot have a one-to-one correlation that oh, it's like this, it should be like this. No, there has to be a process, and that's why there is this field of archaeology where you look at archaeological evidence to come at conclusions. So sometimes, in our zest for, oh my god, this is so similar, this must be it, and that's the job of an academic, not to make such correlations just like that. There is a lot of study that needs to be done to make that happen.
Exactly, you just said it. The human experience is the same throughout history, throughout the different geological location. So the similarity is striking.
Yeah, so that's the thing.
That's
yeah.
the thing. Wow, that's interesting.
But those of you who do not know, there are two Egyptian mummies in the Salarjung Museum in Hyderabad. So how they got there is because the Nizam he was a collector and he wanted to have Egyptian mummies. So there are two Egyptian mummies. They're not in great condition. But those of you who want to find Egypt in India, go to the Salarjung Museum. There are two mummies there.
It's interesting. It's beautiful. As we are wrapping up toward the end of our incredible talk, we've got a couple of questions. Can you support your opinion with some personal scientific experience?
Opinion on what?
We were just talking about... Oh, actually, we missed that question as it.
But I can say, if you want to make a correlation of, the Indian and the Egyptian connection, I was working at a site in Tep Tunis. It's a Greek site. The French mission, the IFAO, they have been excavating for a very long time. And oh my God, the French excavations are one of its kind. They are in the middle of the desert with, oh my God, a battery of service. You have lemonade time, you have tea time, you have a 3-course meal and a checkered table, just like the Victorian times. Yeah, it's the most wonderful excavation to be in. You want cappuccino in the middle of the Sahara, you will get it. If you're on a French mission, so never miss that. So I had the privilege of being on such an excavation, and there one of the textile specialists, she found this cloth on the skeleton of the remains of a person, and he had that tied near the stomach, just tied like that. It was a little pouch of indigo, and it had bishop's weed in it, and bishop's weed comes from India. It's called ajwain. Ajwain. Okay. And that helps in stomach problems, right? And the fact that it was an indigo cloth, so then we kind of verified it, and we realized that this cloth has come from India, and the seed itself has come from India. So that is a scientific way of saying, oh, that's a connection. This is an Indian cloth. This person was having it. Maybe this person had met some Indians, he had gone to India, things like that.
There was some trade or something.
Some trade, yeah. And then I have also worked in a site called Berenike, which is in the south of Egypt, which had direct trade relations with India. And there was a whole colony of Indians who came from Muziris, which is Kerala. So they came and they sat there and they worshipped, and they brought a lot of Indianness to that place. So I was the first Indian. So I'm the only Indian archaeologist who's worked in Egypt, and there's just one Pakistani archaeologist who works in Egypt. She is Salima Ikram, very famous. She comes on TV all the time. And whenever she and I are together, everybody says, oh, India and Pakistan are not at war, because we are very friendly and very close. And the only Indian and Pakistani doing Egyptian archaeology. So just having the feeling of my ancestors having been in Egypt in places like Berenike gives me immense pride that, you know what, this is the connection, that I'm here looking at this place where my ancestors have been there. And what a great feeling it is to know that. The knowing.
Yeah. It's coming to me. It's coming to me. So when you're on this expedition, and okay, you're coming from an academic background and you are working by the knowledge that you learn, but how much also do you work by the knowing that you have?
Okay, now this is a story I have to tell.
Yes.
So my father, he belongs to a place called Mirpur, which is on the other side of Kashmir, disputed Kashmir. I won't say Pakistan occupied Kashmir or Indian Kashmir. I'll say disputed Kashmir, because I think it's better to be politically correct. I don't want to hurt any feelings anywhere in the world. So Mirpur is on the banks of the river Jhelum, and it's underwater now, under the Mangla Dam water, because after partition they built a dam. And of course, my father, he and his family and so many others ran from that place and took refuge on the Indian side of the border. Now, Mirpur is a place where Alexander the Great came, and he met Porus, who was a great king. Now, what was special about Porus was that he had a great ego. Most of the kings were giving in to Alexander because he was such a valiant ruler, and people were scared with his army. Somebody's coming from Macedonia and conquering the world, so they would give in. But Porus, he was like standing with his idly-piddly army against Alexander's great army. So Alexander laughed and he said, "Are you going to fight me?" And Porus said, "Yes." He said, "You know what? I like you." And he got off from his horse and embraced Porus, and they became friends. Now, Porus and Alexander met in the area of Mirpur. And for me, I feel that that's my destiny. I went to Egypt because Alexander the Great went to the Oracle of Siwa, right? Before he conquered the world. So I went to Egypt because somewhere in my DNA, I was supposed to go there. And I've come back to the Himalayas because Alexander the Great came with his army on the banks of the Bias River, and he left. And he left a part of there's a myth that he left a part of his army behind, and the people of Malana are the descendants of that army, right? So there is an Egypt connection. And another story in it is that when Alexander was on a boat with Seleucus of Syria, their boat capsized, and an Indian fisherman, saved them. If he hadn't saved them, history would have been different, because Ptolemy wouldn't have gotten Egypt, Seleucus wouldn't have gotten Syria, and history would have been different. So small events like that kind of decide the fate of people. So I feel in this large scale of things, I'm an iota of existence, and I do have that Egypt-Indian connection, Egypt-Himalayan connection that I'm trying to, navigate in this lifetime through archaeology and my love for the mountains and the desert.
Wonderful, wonderful. We are so blessed with this conversation. It is so, so beautiful. Okay, we are just 3 minutes away, and we are going to give Dr. Sonali those 3 minutes to read her poem once more.
Oh.
Yes, please.
Okay.
We'd love to give our viewers the pleasure, all what they ask for.
Okay. So,
yes, please.
So again, listen, written in ode to Tripura Sundari, the goddess of the three realms, whose temple lies in Nagar. So those of you who visit Erin,
Era.
I'm sorry. Why did I say Erin?
I got your name wrong on the first day.
You did? It's okay. It's like my dear friend. Yeah? Era. Huh?
Yeah.
So those of you who come here to meet Era, you should definitely come and meet Tripura Sundari as well, the wonderful goddess. So it goes, back to where I belong, With bare feet and folded hands, the gust of cold December blows. Numbness surrounds your presence shows, and I'm here now to take solemn vows. In the dark of the night, no one here in sight, I slip and fall on the icy sheet. I am hurt, but I do not weep. And I do remember falling on the icy sheet. That's why. So it's everything is true. Okay. A soul communion with my goddess, a tear drops down my watery eye, my heart and soul together cry. I slide my hands halfway and quiver, the freezing temperatures abound, I shiver. I circumambulate and race, your gaze my only solace. Faith and hope, you say I hear, will keep my strength and all that's dear. The fear of the unknown, the presence of the absence, a renewed vigor, a restless figure. I trust what you say to me without a word non verbally. I'll tread this path of uncertainty, because what is mine will come my way, and which is not will dissipate. And so I trust my instinct and will keep at it till I'm in, bloom like the lotus in the proverbial mud like world, striving to make it till I learn. And I always talk about the lotus because, I'm very, very I think what the Buddha said, be like the lotus in the mud like world. The world is like mud. You'll get lots of experiences, lots of people, bad people, good people, but you keep on blooming. You do not change what your nature is. Don't let others change you. If people are bad to you, don't be bad to them. If they abuse you, don't abuse them back. People might think, oh my God, you're the most stupidest creature on earth. If somebody is, hitting you, you're not hitting back. But then that's what makes you different.
That's what makes you compassionate.
You don't be who they are. You be who you are always in every situation. Just be who you are, because if you decide who you are and how you want to be in life, then come what may, you will always be calm. You'll always be dignified. You'll always be graceful, and you'll be always true to your own self and being. And that's the path I try to follow. And that's what I've learned. I do not abuse, I do not hit people. I try to be who I am, and
your beautiful authentic self.
Yeah.
And this is the most beautiful message to wrap up for tonight in Oneness episode with Dr. Gupta. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, viewers. Thank you, everybody, for being in the live. You can catch the replay here on the Nerika Healing page or on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day or your evening. Bye-bye. We'll see you next week with a new episode.
Bye.